Welcome everyone. Today our forum is slightly unusual because it starts a little earlier than we usually start our forums. That usually our traditional time is 5 p.m. But as I understand, Dr. Karimov is going to be in the plane by 5 p.m. And this is we wanted to use this opportunity of his presence in town. Several weeks ago, we had a seminar here discussing some of the developments in Azerbaijan and U.S. interests in Azerbaijan, and issue of how government of Azerbaijan is handling challenge of corruption was raised. And I think it's an excellent opportunity to have you now in town and discuss some of the policies that government is implemented to streamline procedures and regulations that should help solve this very important problem. Today's seminar is called E-Government and Anti-Corruption in Azerbaijan, the ASAN service, and I'm pretty sure that Dr. Karimov will share all the details about how ASAN service is operating and functioning. So I will not go into details of that, but just say a few words that Dr. Inam Karimov is the chairman of this agency, which is the full name of the agency, State Agency for Public Service and Social Innovations, and the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan. He worked as an advisor and senior advisor to President in President's administration, and he also was secretary of the country's Anti-Corruption Commission and head of Azerbaijan delegation in the Council of Europe's GRECO, Group of States Against Corruption initiative. So, as you can see from this very brief career review, Dr. Karimov had extensive engagement in anti-corruption activities, and I think his experience and knowledge of this issue will be value for our discussion. He has a bachelor's degree in law from University of Strasbourg, an LLM and PhD from Sorbonne University. So if somebody wants to speak in French with him, you are welcome to do that. Okay, so without further ado, maybe I'll invite you to start your presentation, and we'll continue discussions following your presentation.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you. First of all, Johns Hopkins University for organizing this event. And is that all? Okay, so it's me who's gonna switch, okay. And all the organizers, and thank you, Mamka, for presentation. Today, I would like to talk about the ASAN service and about this model of public service delivery. And it's good that we have representatives here from Georgia, yourself, and one Salome from, we just got acquainted yesterday. And we could discuss comparatively this public service delivery both in Georgia and Azerbaijan. And what is ASAN service? What does it represent? ASAN, first of all, is an abbreviation for the words Azerbaijan Service and Assessment Network. And it's an English abbreviation, but this abbreviation has a meaning in Azerbaijani, which means easy. So the population is most interested in this meaning of easy rather than the abbreviation, by the fact that most of them they don't know what the abbreviation is for, but they know very well and they have a lot of expectation from the word easy. So it's we could say the easy service, that the easiness in the public service delivery. What does it represent? First of all, ASAN is a space from where many state services are offered. So it's a single space. It's like a public whole service that we unite services. And now 10 state ministries offer their 25 more than 150 services from one single place. And also, we have many private sector companies and also state companies who are providing their services from one single place. So now you have the partnership of private sectors and state authorities who are delivering their services from one single place. And what's the advantage of this, having all the services in one single place, is that, as you know, Baku is getting bigger and bigger and population is growing, and also we have, with the economic growth in our country, one of the the effects is that the traffic jam is getting higher and higher, and it's getting harder to circulate in the city. So you now enter to one single place, and you have all the state services in one place. So it's a one single face of the state and the citizen face to face. So if citizens enter to one place and get all the services from one place. And of course, that's the advantage of saving time and other advantages. And coming to that point, just I mentioned example of Georgia. As we know, in Georgia we have also public service halls. But what's the difference in model, in legal and structural difference with the public service in Georgia, in Azerbaijan? As we know, the public service halls are the public service halls of the Minister of Justice in Georgia. So it's the services of the Minister of Justice that which are offered from the public service halls in Georgia. But in Azerbaijan, we have the ASAN service halls governed by the State Agency for Public Service and Social Innovations, which does not deliver any services. So we're not any service delivery authority. We do not deliver any services. We only coordinate and organize and control how the services are delivered. So we invite 10 ministries. 10 ministries come under one roof and offer the services from one single place. It's more or less the service mall concept which could be characterized in Azerbaijan model. So you have in one mall, which is service mall, many state services. So this is the main difference with the Georgian model, that there's one ministry which does not deliver directly services, but organizes other state ministry services. But what we do in organizing services, other advantage of ASAN Service Center is that all the services now are standardized, and they're frameworked with the corporate standards. So the condition, the second condition, is the comfort while we're offering services. So all the comfort conditions are united in ASAN service while our citizens are receiving services. So you have waiting halls, you have all the comfort conditions, the centralized queue system, you have a special place for kids, you have a corner for libraries, newspapers, you have internet, you have cafe, you have medical services, you have other banking services, insurance services for the comfort of our customers. And the third one is the pillar principle of ASAN service is the attitude, politeness with our customers. So we apply the principle of customer is always right, citizen is always right principle in our activities while we're delivering services. So for that purpose, all the public officials are trained. So we have a special training program for every single public officials, and they have a training activity plans for the whole agency, for the whole ASAN staff, and for the services that we are providing. And the fourth principle is the transparency. All the procedures are transparent from the moment our customers enter to the centers and for up to the moment they leave ASAN service centers. And we are conducting proactive campaigns for informing the population, the public, and every Azerbaijani citizen is the target group of ASAN Service Information Program. So now, when you enter to ASAN Service Centers, you know what are the procedures, what are the documents, what are the state fees, what are the deadlines for getting your services. And the other principle is the innovation in delivery of public services. Services are delivered day by day, you know, by the new technologies, innovative technologies. And we are also state agency. Our state agency for public services has two mandates in the public service field. One is the coordination work of the ASAN services, and the second one is the electronizing state services. So we work hand to hand with the state ministries to electronize their services. So the services are getting more electronic and more accessible to the public. So what are the effects of ASAN services? First ASAN service started its activity a year and a half ago, and since that we have now 6 centers, service centers in Azerbaijan, 4 in capital and 2 in the regions, and the other centers will be opened by the end of this year, and by the end of the next year we will cover the whole territory of Azerbaijan. It is an effective tool for combating corruption. In the atmosphere of ASAN, the corruption is practically impossible. So it has been very effective tool for combating this phenomenon, and for that one we have it acts in fact as an effective tool for preventing corruption. As we know, the phenomenon of corruption is fought effectively when we eradicate the circumstances which leads to corruption, and among those circumstances, as we know, is the red tape, bureaucracy, overlap of documents, etc., and non-transparent environment. So that all these factors are eliminated, and we have a zero tolerance atmosphere for corruption. But it's not only combating corruption; it has gone far from that phenomenon and that care for the state. That it's also effective tool for the efficiency of the state services. Now we have many documents or many state services are delivered very efficient way and fastly. So for example, we have one of the services, changing driver's license. It takes 5 minutes. Other documents, passports, IDs, other documents, it takes 1 day for changing your passport. And for example, registering a company, you can do with electronically or by coming to ASAN service centers. If you do it electronically, it takes you 10 minutes. So it's an effective tool for the efficiency of the services. So if we, in some countries, maybe the problem of corruption is not an issue, but how about the efficiency? Is it so efficient? Is it so fast? So with the innovation and with the internal structure, services are getting more and more efficient. And another component of the ASAN service centers, as I mentioned, we have ASAN service centers. It's public service halls, big buildings, about 5,000 square meters each ASAN service center. But there is another component of ASAN service brand, is that we have special equipped buses which go to the regions, to the villages of Azerbaijan, and give the services right on place. And another important component of the ASAN brand is the inner city ASAN services. That services are provided by special mobile vehicles. If for any reason anybody wouldn't wish to come to ASAN service center, just for the mere fact that he doesn't feel in the mood of coming to ASAN, there is no problem. They call us and we go to their houses, to their offices, to the place where they rest. We take all the documents and bring back the ready document. So it has changed with ASAN, the concept of public service delivery. In all the countries, it doesn't matter, Eastern or Western world, the services are, we go more theoretical aspects of public service delivery, is of reactive character. So you go to the state, and the state reacts to your will and delivers the document. But with the mobile ASAN services, it's more proactive state services. So state goes to to its citizens in order to deliver services. So ASAN now is in the phase of, I would say, Gov 2.0 concept. So there's a public participation, highly public participation in the delivery of public services. So the other different means of public participation, those with the internet, with other means. We have, for example, very active social participation, 160,000 followers of ASAN for example, on Facebook. And it's not just to have followers on Facebook, it's a very effective tool for communication, proactively and reactively. So we have per day more than around 1,000 applications and questions asked on the Facebook. And our limit is that we should respond to these questions within 5 minutes time. So it's an effective tool for exchanging. And also we receive ideas and comments on for the improvement of our services. So there's a special strategy of the ASAN services to receive the views, comments of the public in order to improve our activities. And for example, another tool in the strategy is that there is a broad range of public service tools, public opinion surveys that we can conduct both internally and externally, both with the capacity of our internal, internally with the help of external experts, with the wish to receive more opinions. But ASAN is looking forward to pass to the Gov 3.0 model of public service delivery with the application of mobile applications. And with that concept, the services will be delivered more proactively with the application of electronic resources. Concerning the work conditions, the work principles, ASAN service centers work without weekends, say all the day, every day, and without until 8 o'clock, which means it covers also after office work hours, and also without lunch break. So it's at the service of the population all the time, and with the mobile buses everywhere. So it can be a formula all the time and everywhere public service delivery. And we have a small film on ASAN service. You will have probably more questions. As we say, it's better to hear once rather than to see once rather than hearing 100 times. But I hope that you will have a chance as a Johns Hopkins University to come to Azerbaijan to see ASAN service on place. So if we have time, we'll look at the film and then we'll answer questions.
The establishment of ASAN service constituted a very serious development in our ongoing policy aimed at modernizing and simplifying life of citizens in Azerbaijan, including combating bribery. ASAN service is a product and novelty of Azerbaijan, an Azerbaijani brand. Citizens always need public services. Again, file of documents. Number of departments are awaiting. Citizen has to apply to each and every entity. Huh? That was really challenging. Today, it's not anymore the case. ASAN service combines several state entities and their services in a single place. In its turn, ASAN service represents a creative and innovative sample of services. Now Citizen is delighted to go to one address, ASAN service. Nine state agencies are rendering 25 groups of services. These 150 services are completed by 25 auxiliary services by private companies. ASAN service ensures the access of public to state services in a modern and efficient way. This inventory service builds upon the following main principles: transparency, efficiency, accessibility, and politeness. Centers are offering the best conditions and innovations for citizens. The waiting halls contain kids area, medical labs, internet cafe, mother care room, self-service area, among others. The members of personnel are capable to receive sympathy of citizens due to their high ethical behavior and professionalism. This is equally the case for the centers that are functional in the regions. Cozy atmosphere inside of the building, handsome, transparent design, and well-trained servicemen. Thousands of volunteers are willing to demonstrate their best intellectual and practical capacity to contribute to the ASAN service delivery. Next, innovation to meet the best expectations of the citizens and to be easily accessible. Mobile ASAN services. The state are coming to the addresses of citizens via well-equipped large buses, including the remote areas. Another type of mobile ASAN service is offering its goods services to those unable to visit service centers. The fast operational vehicles are ready to serve at the requested address within a short delay. 1 million citizens have received public services within ASAN service centers within 1 year period. Satisfaction of citizens having received services is over 90%. Over 150,000 calls have been responded via 108 call center within a year.
Thank you. So at the end, I would like to conclude that ASAN has, with its unique legal structure and the mode that we're delivering service, we can say that the model for public service delivery, a unique model. Of course, there are comparisons, there are similarities, and with other, but with the structure, that the way how the services are delivered represents in itself a model that can be studied and of course needs also to be developed in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, why don't we maybe have a seat and we'll have some, I'm sure, some questions. But before going to some questions, maybe from the audience, I have just one clarification maybe you can provide. So are there other alternative sort of vehicles of delivering of the same services, or everything is now concentrated in ASAN network?
It's a good question. In fact, with ASAN, as I mentioned, services are delivered by the concerned ministries inside ASAN service centers. So the ministries continue to deliver their services both in ASAN service centers and, as we may call, with a traditional network of public service delivery means. But there is a good aspect in this, that it creates a good competition for with the establishment of ASAN, people have public has a choice to attend the same ministry, either in ASAN or in the traditional service centers, and it creates a good environment of competition. So ministers are bringing the level of their services, and we're also bringing up the level of the services. So it's an alternative service system.
And using my prerogative of moderator, another question.
Yeah.
Do you deliver services to businesses as well? Let's say registration of businesses or properties? Or
Yes, some of the services are directly linked to the business environment. We have, for example, company registration, so tax-based registration, also immigration services, the work permit, also resident permit, also customs services, and other services which could be linked to the private sector for notary services, a lot of notary services, and other services also which can be directly. Property issues also, property registry, which is present in ASAN Service Center.
Very good. So I think it's it's very interesting to hear this new development. And you mentioned that in your presentation there were the movie said 1 million, but you said 1.5 already because it's more than 1 year already that you operate. So there's a growing number of people applying to ASAN services rather than going to alternative.
Yes, we are. The 1 million was for 1 year period, and now the number is 1,600,000, and we're expecting the number growing day by day. And level of attendance to the ASAN service is growing day by day. Once again, challenges to keep the services at level. If we do not, they will not come. So.
Maybe I'll open now floor for questions from the audience. Yes, sir. Mario. Please
Thank
introduce
you.
yourself.
Yes, I'm Phil Schrafer. I'm a retired social worker with international background, and I lived in Baku for about 6 months. I recently changed my driver's ID just because I had an address change. I think it took me an hour. I had to have a picture taken. This is very, very impressive. I want to ask you a question. In the 12 months you've been in operation, have you had any criticism? That is something that got into the newspapers. What was the nature, and how did you answer the criticism?
Excuse me. Criticism, this is only 1 year period of time, and fortunately, we did not receive any criticism, major criticism, from the newspapers or from the public. But it's not the issue that we would be delighted, and we have a special mechanism for receiving complaints and other comments on our services. So, as I said, the legal structure is established in a manner that if there is a criticism, it goes in part to the concerned ministries and also in part to our parts. So we're not directly responsible for public service delivery. We're in part interested in receiving criticism and complaints from the public in order to improve our activities. So it is a wish to receive opinions and criticism from the public for our agency.
Gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much, Alex Atank and Middle East Institute. Thank you for your presentation. It does really look impressive. I do have maybe 3 questions.
Keep them short.
Sure, I'll keep them short. Can you tell us something about Azerbaijani residents outside the Republic of Azerbaijan? How do you handle services for people who live abroad? Does the bus go that far? I would be curious to hear, and I mean, what do you have planned as this develops? And by consolidating, is there any danger in your mind about abuse when you're talking about so many different services being consolidated in one place? Now, what I am thinking of is the growing economy of Azerbaijan. As Azerbaijan becomes the richest country in its region, you presumably will have issues of illegal immigration. How are you thinking about those challenges as you look forward? Thank you.
Thank you. First, concerning the residents, our citizens out of which live abroad, and now the services are mainly rendered through the static ASAN service centers and also buses. Unfortunately, buses cannot leave Azerbaijan territory, mainly for the sovereignty issues. And but there is a solution for that problem, and now we're to this issue that we're working with the development of e-government, and the services will be rendered more and more electronically, and also with the on a mobile application. And now we're working on the concept of ASAN 2.0. With that one, the services will be rendered even abroad to the citizens of Azerbaijan, at least the application part. And for the changing part, now we have launched another project, ASAN electronic signature. With that one, most of the services will be available electronically, even for the majority, for those which are physically possible from abroad. Concerning the abuses, or as you mentioned specifically for illegal immigration, as I mentioned, our agency is not responsible for the policy of the services. For example, immigration service is present in ASAN Service Center, but we're not the state agency responsible for the immigration policy. So we are only offering a space to the immigration service to offer their services for certain of their services, which are mostly required by the population. So, for example, work permit, residence permits, permit, etc. So it's the State Migration Service or Minister of Internal Affairs which continues to conduct the policy in their respective field. Thank you.
Yes.
My name is Servet Pervez, and I'm a governance specialist and also a student here at SAIS in the mid-career program. I had previously worked with the Civil Service Commission in Afghanistan, and I know that they had a delegation that went to Azerbaijan specifically to learn more about ASAN. And I was curious if you've received more interest from other countries who are looking to model something similar in their countries. And then secondly, I was interested, how are you reaching out to the Azerbaijani public? I saw 40% of the people are involved or know about it. Do you have a public campaign to get the information out there? Because you mentioned you're competing with the ministries.
Thank you. Concerning the first question, now Azerbaijan has the ASAN service centers, and its way of delivering services and its model is interesting for many countries and also for many international organizations which are trying to promote this model in other countries. It's first of all successful model for, as I mentioned, for combating corruption, and which in the example of Azerbaijan eradicated totally corruption in this area, public service delivery, and also for the efficiency of the public services. Of course, the country Afghanistan that you mentioned, we had many delegations from this country, and also other, both from Eastern world and also from the Eastern Europe countries that are coming and getting interested with this model of public service delivery. Concerning public campaign, as I mentioned, we are conducting public campaign proactively, and our target is to reach every Azerbaijani citizen and every person who is living in Azerbaijan. And for that purpose, we have developed special PR strategy, and every single citizen of Azerbaijan is included as a target group in this strategy. So we have very wide campaign by the with the help of the TV, radios, and also another very important tool is with the social medias. More and more population, especially youth, are involved in the social media. As I mentioned, we have more than the 40% of these internet users which are following ASAN services on social media. So there is a planned and a public campaign conducted by our agency to reach every potential user in Azerbaijan. The purpose is to inform these groups, these persons, on the services we offer, and also on the procedures, on the documents, on the services, range of the services that we provide. The outcome is that it acts as an important tool for promoting transparency and promoting openness and promoting public participation in our work, which is also effective tool as one of the components for eradicating, for preventing corruption.
Okay.
Alexander Melgishvili, IHS. Thank you very much for your presentation, very informative. And I have two questions. One, have you received any feedback from Transparency International or any watchdogs who monitor corruption across the globe? What was their feedback on that? And with regard to the foreign businesses operating in Azerbaijan, have you received any feedback from, say, foreign business associations with regard to how this affects the overall operating environment? Because I commend you for making it, essentially eradicating low-level corruption on the level of public services. It basically ends it, I mean, from what it seems. And secondly, you mentioned something that struck me as an important kind of like a side note. You mentioned that while ASAN centers offer multitude of services, there is, as of now, in parallel, they are also offered by the respective ministries. Now, do you envision a point in time where this will be only concentrated in ASAN centers and no longer offered at the ministries? In other words, there will be a structural adjustment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As I mentioned concerning your first question, cooperation involving NGOs and public sector is a priority for ASAN service centers. And from the first day of its functioning, our agency established a council of NGOs which are represented, those activities are linked to the issues like combating corruption, promoting businesses, and among them there is a Transparency International, not only Transparency International, but other local and international NGOs. And our goal and our wish is to receive their feedbacks on our activities. Of course, we wish from our part to receive their feedbacks, and the Transparency International, together with other NGOs, local and international NGOs, have already submitted their feedbacks and their comments on our activities, and we're expecting to receiving more comments. So there is a special institutionalized system of involving public sector in our activity. Concerning the second question, it's an important reform conducted by the President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, on the public services and for public services delivery. As you know, the reform is an ongoing process, and we're in the phase of first step, but I am as a person is the implementer of this reform. In the future we will see how's the effect of this dual system. Maybe it's a good one because it creates a good environment of competition, but we will see. I am not the person who could declare what will be the income of this process.
Okay, right here, and then.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. My name is Namik. I'm a postdoctoral fellow at SAIS. I think actually ASAN is one of the important part of institutional reforms in Azerbaijan. What do you think about the contributions of ASAN on Azerbaijan 2020 goals of economic development? Thank you.
Yeah, as you know, 2012 concept, and ASAN plays as its ongoing process in achieving, is one of the tools. As I said, it's an ongoing process that we are now in the process of modernizing and making public services, state services, more innovative. And as I mentioned, we are working on the concept of ASAN 2.0 concept, which will make public services closer, more open to the public, to the citizens of Azerbaijan. So ASAN is a component part of the modernization and of state, of public services, of the society in general. So it's directly linked to the general policy in Azerbaijan. And yesterday we were in another conference with our US partners, and I made a presentation. We were talking about energy and beyond, and energy was a central part in this discussion. But now Azerbaijan, with its economic development, is starting to talk much more on the subject beyond rather than energy. So with its economic development, which is goal of the strategy, of our strategy, long-term strategy, not to talk about energy, but to talk about what will happen with the world beyond. And with economic development and political stability in our country, Azerbaijan has stepped to a new phase level of cooperation. If we were beneficiaries mainly of the models and the know-hows developed by other systems and countries, now we come up with, which is the example of ASAN service, with a model, with a know-how which could be shared by other countries, as I mentioned. So it's one of the components is that it should be taken in as a part of the general movement or general actions or general policy of the state. And Azerbaijan is one of the examples of this result of the economic and social development of Azerbaijan.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Susan Sadegova. I'm with U.S. Azerbaijan Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. Well, first of all, thank you for a great presentation. I think the achievements are remarkable. I think the first person, the question, he mentioned that he spent 1 hour to get his ID card in the U.S. I think he's very lucky because every time I spend 3 or 4 hours, that's the good case. I think even once I finished the whole book while waiting in the line. So the fact that you give a passport in 5 minutes, very remarkable. I wish we had that in the U.S. Speaking on behalf of American companies, or you already asked, Mr. Tseritel already asked that business aspect. What I was curious about is, would ASAN be interested in cooperating with companies in improving the business they have in place? At the Chamber of Commerce, we deal with a lot of American companies who are interested in Azerbaijani market. They approach us with different projects that is about technology or anything else. So I was wondering if there is a company who would want to deal with, or offer services to ASAN, would you be interested in cooperating with them? Thank you.
Thank you. We have, as a ASAN service and a state agency, our limited scope of mandates, and in the framework of our mandate that we are mandated by the legal acts, and we are our priority, as I mentioned, to cooperate with both with the public, with NGOs, private sector companies, in the framework of our mandate. Of course, we will involve, as I said, where ASAN service centers offer services both also to the private sector, and in order to improve the services offered to the private sectors, we will and we are now cooperating with the private sector companies, and we're planning to maybe establish another council purely composed of the private companies. But as I mentioned also, ASAN service is one of the elements, components of the general policy in Azerbaijan, and now other important measures are being taken by the government in order to improve the entrepreneurship environment in Azerbaijan. And recently we had a presidential decree on the measures to facilitate and to improve business environment in Azerbaijan. So ASAN should be taken in parallel with other state measures. That I'm here as a representative of ASAN, but if you would invite other state representatives, the other measures are being taken in other fields, especially in the field of business environment.
If I may ask one question, and then Maria. Those services that are provided in ASAN facilities, I assume they people pay cost. I mean, their cost associated with that.
Yes.
And so that's collected by the ministries themselves, or collected by sort of your. I'm just trying to understand. I understand that you really provide like umbrella sort of for the services of ministries, and ministries provide those services themselves, just using your umbrella sort of structure. So, in terms of fighting corruption, I'm just trying to understand. So, what are the mechanisms that really controls corruption here? Is just a nice facility and cameras are around and so forth, or are there some other elements in place that, let's say, this simplification of procedures or so forth? How you streamline everything, and how this connects to the cost of services?
Yes, that's a good question on how by the way, I would like also, I agree with you, is that how the building looks it doesn't matter at all. So it has no role in the organization of the ASAN services. The most important is the internal organization and internal management. What concerns how much does it cost? For certain services, we have the state fees collected by the state, and those fees are collected, and there's a system. We keep 30% of the fees in ASAN service centers. So we collect state fees, and 30% remains in ASAN, and we distribute this 30% as a bonuses to the salaries of public officials, which are seconded to ASAN service centers. It's another tool for an effective tool for preventing corruption, because materially the public service public officials they receive their salaries from the ministers, and they receive bonuses from ASAN service centers. But the way of payment, as I mentioned, that the important is to eliminate circumstances which leads to corruption. The one fundamental rule is that public official never touches money in ASAN service center. So first of all, you have to pay either via internet online, or you pay to the bank. Then you should give the receipt to the public official. So public officials never touches money. But there is also effective tool for controlling and monitoring the system. Every public official's activity is evaluated by the ASAN service centers, at the beginning of the month, every public officials, there's a system, 75 points. You have 75 points. At the end of the month, either we add points to the public officials or we deduct points, and it affects his bonuses system. Also, if the other circumstances which could lead to corruption is the red tape and asking for additional documents, in that case, ASAN service centers are at the side of the customer, we're going together with him, and we are analyzing whatever, if the document is the procedure is respected or not. If there is a procedure is not respected, we negotiate.
So you have your consultants?
Yes, of course. So we're consultants, both for the government officials and for the customers. So we are the citizens is face to face to the public officials, seconded public officials. We're in the middle, both at the sides of the customer, at the side of the public officials.
Okay, thank you. Maria?
My question, well, first of all, it was about the funding, which just got clarified. The other one is, are there other services where you see there is corruption, which you'd like to include in ASAN services to eliminate the corruption? I'm thinking in particular of some reports by some of my colleagues when I was working in international development, and they were IMF or World Bank or whatever, and stationed in Baku, and they had faced difficulties in registering their children in the school system without a bribe, and a hefty bribe at that, in order to get that done. So I'm just wondering if something like registering children in school might not be a service that ASAN could provide, and thereby eliminating the corruption that at least was there a few years ago.
There are now we're working on the project that the registry of all the state services. So we are making a list of how many state services we have. So truly saying, I don't know how many state services categorized. Now we're working, soon we will finish. The second statement is that the ASAN service cannot absorb everything, all the services. So we cannot have all the state services in one single place. Those who are most demanded by the population, with the frequency of the services, demand of the services are taken into account. And we have more and more services required by the ministers. And now we have more ministers asking ASAN to be represented in ASAN, and also state companies, also private sector companies to be represented in ASAN. But as I said, ASAN is part of the general policy, and especially if you're mentioning education policies, now very important reforms are being conducted in the education sphere. We have a new minister, young, energetic minister, who's conducting very, very important reforms in the education sector. And I can surely say that we do not have any such problem in the education sector today.
Yes, there's a question over there. 1 second, please. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Ulvi Ismail. I'm based here now, but I used to live in Baku until 2 years ago. Unfortunately, I hadn't had a chance to use ASAN service, but I've read remarkable comments from people who have used it, who really like it, although in general they may be the same ones who don't like the government, but they've been positively impressed by ASAN service. My question is, since I know Inam for a long time, so I'm happy that he's leading this great initiative. My question is, since ASAN is replicating a lot of these governmental services which had problems in the past or may still have you noticed, have you done any research to see if after you have been doing this, have they tried to improve in order to look like you, or to be like kind of ashamed that you're doing such a good work, but they're not doing it? Have they tried to become better, improve, and then take back their customers from you and and run you out of business, or I mean in the future, ideally, but or you think they have said ASAN is doing this, so go to ASAN, and they have even worsened. Do you know if there's such any kind of internal analysis, or maybe you can see it by increased number of people from those ministries coming to you, or they have reduced? So that's kind of a very strange question.
Thank you. I think this aspect should be analyzed from positive angle. As I said, it creates a good competition environment both for ASAN. Of course, ministers have brought up their level of services, and the ministries, if we're competing with the ministers, they have some advantages, and we have some advantages. So everybody, by the way, this is the ministers themselves, they are rendering their services. We're just offering and creating environment. And also this is a challenge, positive thing for us to keep ourselves updated. If we stop with the level of the services right today, and by the way, the expectation that we are working for the customer satisfaction, citizen satisfaction, public service delivery, but the expectations, so how satisfaction is attained, we give the services up to their expectations. But the expectations, I can assure you, of the customers going upper and upper every day. So if this level of services they receive here, tomorrow it's an ordinary service. They're not satisfied, and they are, so that's why expectations are going high, day by day. So that's why the challenge for us is to keep up ourselves up to their expectations. So I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. But once again, we will see how it goes, the evolution of the services. By the way, some ministries, they declared that they stopped their services from the traditional service centers, and they give services only from ASAN service centers. So you have also such ministries. They declared that they don't need traditional service centers, and they give services only from ASAN service centers. So you see that such a decision we didn't expect. So we don't know what will happen in 2 years, 3 years period. And depending on the circumstances of the time, proper decision will be taken.
One kind of just to follow up on that. So you have mentioned that you have 6 major centers. They're concentrated all in Baku, or they are spread around the country? The goal is to cover whole territory of Azerbaijan, and 6 is not enough. And we're expecting to open other centers in the regions. And one good thing with the ASAN service is that once the whole network will be settled down, we will lift residential limits. So anybody living in any city of Azerbaijan will be able to receive services in any ASAN that he wishes. 4 centers are open in Baku. With the 4 centers, we already lift residential limit in Baku. Baku is a big city, 3 million. So, and we have 1 center in other big city, Sumgayit, which covers not only Sumgayit, but 10 surrounding rayons, we call it, and also Ganja, which covers not only Ganja and 10 surrounding rayons. So there are 3 more centers being built today in the regions of Azerbaijan, and next year 4 or 5 more centers will be opened. And it's all funded by the government?
All funded by the government.
Any more questions? Yes?
Just as a follow-up.
One second, because we are recording it.
Just as a follow-up, can you give approximate staff level of an average center? Staff level, how many people? Thanks very much.
Around 30 staff members are from the state agency who coordinate the work of ASAN, and around 90 seconded staff members from the respected ministries. And other important aspect in our work that we involved every ASAN service center involves volunteers in their work. So we young students are involved in our work. Our goal is to teach these young students and those who have freshly finished universities, and those companies, those ministers who are working and participating in ASAN service centers are employing these young people. And around 60, it makes also we have private sector companies also working present in ASAN service centers, about 20-25 such staff members. It gives around 200 people working in each ASAN service center.
You know, perception on corruption changes a lot, knowing experience of Georgia. When you have something like that set up, a perception of people about corruption is changing very rapidly. So I think two things that made perception of corruption very low in Georgia were these public services and justice houses that you described earlier. And second one was traffic police. I understand this is not your realm, but these were the two things. Once those issues were resolved, perception about corruption and about sort of easiness of moving around or doing things absolutely improved. So I think you are we have to commend you. You're on a very right path, definitely, and I hope there will be some changes in the traffic police as well, elsewhere, not just in Azerbaijan, but other countries as well. So that will really elevate Azerbaijan in all the rankings that are covering not just corruption, but also easiness of doing business and other things as well. So that's very commendable, obviously. Reform and implementation of the reform. It's easy to decide to do certain things, but it's very hard sometimes to implement that. And I think it's a very smart idea to implement it and establishing new facilities, new structure, because improving and changing internally those ministries and services that are provided, it's all mission impossible. So we have to commend you on that. You mentioned earlier that there is there are some countries that have no corruption, and some issues were mentioned here in Washington, getting driving license, or I had the property that I had to renovate, and I can assure that there is no corruption-free place in the world. Definitely not in Washington, D.C. And if there are any other follow-up questions, we could address that. And if not, maybe we should just complete our wonderful presentation and discussion. We hope that you will come back to us in maybe a couple of years with some additional news to report and see. You are in place for just a year and a half. I think there will be significant material for analysis in next probably year or two that will give us tool to assess or material to assess this model in general, and maybe some other countries will copy your model, as it was mentioned already, that there's obviously some interest to that. So thanks for coming, and thanks for joining us, and thanks everyone to be here. Thank you.